Welcome back. Well, any day now we may hear the announcement. A woman pregnant with the world's first cloned baby.
But before that happens, Dr. Panos Zavos says his international scientific team will do extensive tests on a cloned human embryo. And a British documentary crew is filming the entire process. Now, Dr. Zavos joins us with more. Doctor, thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Nice to have you here.
Sure.
Where are we now? Tell us.
Well, the world may be waiting for all this, but we're not very, rushed, so to speak, to do this. After you freeze an embryo, that embryo can survive for 10, 20 years without changing its status. I mean, whatever we have, it's frozen down to 200 degrees below zero at liquid nitrogen temperature. And therefore, the rush is for other people to worry about rather than us. We are putting the team together. This is summertime, as you realize. And this has to happen in a foreign land where we have almost 5 or 6 teams to be put together. And therefore, we need to get them at one location at the same time, get them to coordinate their efforts. And I can only tell you this morning that that date of the transfer has been decided. But it's a few weeks away from here.
Well, a British documentary crew, as we said, has been filming this entire process. An hour-long documentary already aired recently in England.
Yes.
You were kind enough to share some of the footage with us, and let's take a look at it. And you can see on this monitor over here, Dr. Zavos. Can you describe a little bit about the process?
This is the aspiration of the cytoplasm that contains the egg's DNA. Is called enucleation. It's an absolute necessity in order for us to introduce a new DNA that is being placed in now. We are transferring a granulosa cell into the egg. The egg then is stimulated artificially with electric stimulus and chemical stimulus. And here we have the first clone embryo produced. It's about 3 to 4 cell stage embryo. And the embryo looks quite symmetric. It had future in it because it proceeded to grow up to the 8 to 10 cell stage embryo. And that's where it's frozen, right there. It's 8 to 10 cells. Very symmetric blastomeres, that's the cells inside of it. It shows here the instrumentation, which is about $250,000 worth of instrumentation required to do this. And our experts are doing a marvelous job. This is the electrofusion equipment on a microscope where the egg is placed symmetrically into this chamber and allowed to undergo the electrofusion, which is electrical stimulation, very similar to what the egg receives when the sperm gets in, but because no sperm is introduced, we are forced to electrically stimulate this egg to undergo the various events. Here again, we're showing a placement of the granulosa cell that contains the DNA into an enucleated oocyte. This is human on human. The previous one that you saw was human granulosa cells in bovine eggs. This is human eggs. And this is one of the 9 that we've done, and we have the first clone embryo.
Out of the 9, you have one.
One out of 9, that's correct.
And at this state, it's viable right now.
It's a very viable embryo. It was progressing very well, dividing every day. And then we decided to freeze it at 8 to 10 cell stage because we could freeze the embryo at a 2 cell, 4 cell, 6 cell. But because this one, when it's thawed, we're going to go in surgically and remove 1 or 2 of those cells. We like to have 8 to 10 of them. That way, we don't remove too many of those cells and leave too few cells inside of it. So allowed it to go to 8 to 10 cells. If we remove 1 or 2, does not detrimentally affect the quality of that egg, that embryo to continue later on.
That embryo made the cover of a reproductive journal, online journal.
We're very thrilled to say that we published our work before we announced it in RBM Online, which is a very elite journal, medical journal, that is edited by Robert Edwards. That's the editor. Robert Edwards is the gentleman that produced the first test baby, Louise Brown, 25 years ago. And he was kind enough this morning, I received this in the mail from him, that he autographed this journal that the story of our accomplishments is in. And this is the embryo that made the cover. And on the top of that embryo, with all best wishes, Robert Edwards, which is very, very rewarding to us to know that a man that created the first test baby recognizes the seriousness and the progress of our efforts.
Absolutely. And you also have a open house that you wanted to tell us
yes,
about.
We like
this is different from the
world to know that on the 25th of July, we'll have an open house at our center here in Lexington, the Kentucky Center for Reproductive Medicine, from 6 to 8 p.m. on the 25th. And anybody that